Hey!
Podcast, Coach.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well, Coach. Man, so good to have you on. Really is, man. It's been a long time coming in my mind. I'm sure in yours too. But man, Coach Torres, really good to have you on, man, and look forward to what we're going to do today.
Yeah, so am I. Thank you again
Yeah, man. So
for letting me on.
I'm gonna start off like I do everyone, Coach. And how are you introduced to the game of basketball?
All right. I grew up in Woodburn, a very small, tight-knit community, very small town, Hispanic, where sports and family mean everything, right? Our town was known for a soccer town, right? Big soccer. But basketball was really a sport that really captured my attention. Growing up, I had Magic Johnson posters, Kobe Bryant jerseys. My mom and aunts, uncles all played at my high school where I graduated at. So the game was always around me. I still remember maybe second, third grade where I went to a Lakers game versus obviously the Trailblazers in Oregon. And I was really captivated by the moment of just seeing the level of athletes play, but just being able to see Kobe Bryant, obviously, who I idolized. It was such a surreal moment. And the environment of the packed gym, the the fans going crazy, growing up really made me fall in love with the game.
That's fantastic, Coach. Now you talk about the Lakers. That was my first team. Like I
Yeah.
got a back in the day in the 80s, they used to sell these colored basketballs. They look like ABA basketballs, but it was purple and gold. The one I got, and it was Magic Johnson. And as a point
Ooh.
guard, man, that was my guy. I was like, this is who I want to be. I want to do the no look passes. I want to run the break. I want to do the one where he comes like cups it and throws it back. I want
Yeah.
to do all that, man. So I really understand that now. Uh, like you talk about there in Woodburn, Oregon, in Western Oregon, right? It's in Western Oregon. Like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
that whole
Western Green's like
yeah,
35, 40 minutes away.
yeah. And so in that culture, Coach, you talked about your family going to the same high school you did, and you being around the game. What did that look like for your family to like experience it now through your eyes, and they see how far you've made it? What's that been like for you?
For me, it's been honestly honorable, right? Growing up, obviously my parents were some of the biggest influence in my life, right? They sacrificed things where, my siblings and I could get an opportunity to go, right? My dad worked multiple jobs, which allowed me to play sports. My mom grew up a farm worker, and then ended up being a high school teacher. Still, actually lives in Woodburn, Oregon. And my grandparents are migrant farm workers who came here for a better life, right? Those values today really still hold with me today, right? The respect, the hard work, and belief. It's really shaped how I approach things in life. When you grow up watching your parents sacrifice the way mine did, you learn quickly that nothing is given. You have to earn it. I've taken that with me along the way, right? And year after year, you know, you gotta keep earning it.
Yeah, Coach, you're saying a lot right there, and it's enough to probably write a memoir for all your family to read and to go over because we come from the same type of background where our families, their grandparents immigrated here, then our parents assimilated somewhat, and then we just kind of made a way. I mean, that's what we came here for, right? And that
Yeah.
story is so loud now, given everything that happens in this world and in our society, particularly the USA, right? So
Mhm.
I'm so glad you said what you said because you're right. Nothing is given. Everything has to be earned. Like that's our culture, man. That's our culture. And if you
Yep.
don't understand that, you're gonna be pretty sad. But we're glad we learned it. We learned the hard way. But I think the hard way for us was the best way. Better to figure out how to work hard at a young age than to have to
Mhm.
figure out one day once you made a big mistake, right? So
Yeah.
just my take. So I appreciate that, man. Thank you for that backstory. Now, I want to ask you what your experiences was like with different coaches as you were coming up in the game.
Um, so, I've had some great coaches in my AAU time. I worked for an organization called the Hoop Salem, the Johnsons. Rest in peace, James Johnson. It was a big. He actually was one of the first phone calls I was gonna make as soon as I got a graduate assistant job in coaching. And he actually allowed me to, work for him as soon as I was done in high school. So, that was a big influence in my life, as well as Dane Johnson. He's actually working for the Stockton Kings right now. The Johnson family had so much impact on my life.
Mm.
We're just really thankful for allowing them to obviously be a part of their teams, being able to travel West Coast, Midwest, be able to witness all of that. And then ultimately in college, be able to understand what that circuit kind of is.
Yeah.
Um, and then, obviously my uncle, he was a Woodburn High School coach, Woodburn High School, really great player as well there. I was a senior and he got his job. And, I came back to play for him for my last year. And I do remember the times where, he may have kicked me out a day or two, but he was really free flowing and really helped me grow the game. I talked to him consistently, and he's helped me a lot through my process.
Awesome. Now I want to ask the coach about that because here again, your their influences, those people, the Johnsons and your uncle. Like you said it before, your mom and your other family members. Who or what was it that influenced you to go into the coaching profession?
Um, for me, um, honestly, my sister she played for a team called Team Concept. And I remember watching her play. And I remember seeing Mercedes Lewis, Kylie Johnson, and Jordan Reynolds, high level players that played with my sister. Um, and I remember obviously when she went to high school, Coach Sandy Dickerson was there. And she actually just retired, crazy thing.
Yeah,
But she was such an electric person, electric energy, and real like straightforward, and she loved the game. So I would say her impact as well had influence into going to coaching.
cool, cool, cool. It's amazing sometimes what influenced us. Sometimes it's a relative, somebody that we are close to. Sometimes it's a coach that we had, but then how we watch how other people operate. I remember watching a coach here in San Antonio who was a really good high school coach. Still coaches to this day, but this was probably back in 90 something, right? And I would
Um,
I'd go to their games and just sit right behind the bench and just watch him operate. He had a team that went to the Final Four for a state championship. And every game I went to, I just wanted to hear him and what he was saying. And so he really influenced me from afar.
yeah,
I didn't even have a relationship with him. I just would watch him work. And I was like, man, I want to do what he does. And so I get that completely. And it's awesome, man, that you're able to be influenced to do that because look how far you've come with it. And God only knows how much further you're going to go with it. So that's great, coach. Now, what was your welcome to coaching moment where you felt like, you know what, I'm no longer a player. I'm no longer like you were at Oregon, a player. Now I'm an
yeah.
active coach. What was that moment for you, coach?
Okay. I got 2 moments, if that's alright with you.
Yeah, yeah,
My first one was actually when I was still in college. So I had my own, little personal fitness called Dat Fitness,
mhm,
and it was out of my garage gym. You know, really, really trying to emphasize of physical health, right?
yeah,
And being able to see those athletes, whether it was high school or even adults, right? You realize the impact you have, right? And it's not so much, oh, like let's lift weights. It's more about getting them to believe in themselves so they actually do it. So that was one moment as an undergraduate where I really had to figure out who I was going to be. And I know it's not directly correlated to basketball, but it was
yeah,
a moment for me that was important.
yeah,
When I came here to Jacksonville, I had one player I was working with pretty consistently. Her name's Huline Royale, Jules. And it's talking about being ready, right? When your moment's called. Continue to work out, continue your process. And early on in let me recollect. FIU, I think it was our second game of the year. She had a really good performance and it had showed about the consistent work she was doing days before. She was shooting threes and she was the type of player that took charges too. And it was really like momentum plays. And it really taught me quickly, out of college, that every detail matters, right?
Yeah.
And that impact, those impacts, I should say, matter.
Yeah. It's really cool how you broke that down because a lot of people think that being a part of a college staff is just showing up, do a little player development once in a while. The head coach is kind of running everything, and sometimes it's not that way. The head coach brings you on staff to really lean on you, and they really need you to be ready to go yourself, and then get the players ready to go themselves.
Yeah.
Everybody has to be ready, so you don't have to get ready and then go on and
Yep.
make an impact because you guys made a run to the NCAA tournament, and you aren't going to
Yes.
make that if people weren't ready. Coach Jennings, I don't imagine that she takes it easy on anybody, and
Yes.
not because she's a tyrant or anything, but because she expects people to have the same level of excellence that she has, and the success that she has shown that that excellence works, right? So I think
Mhm.
that's really cool how you're laying that out for us now. With
Mhm.
that being said, in your experience, coach, being at the two programs that you've been this far and maybe throughout your basketball coaching career, what are some keys to a successful program in your mind?
Well, I would say the biggest is culture, right? Culture drives everything. Culture, 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 right?
Yeah,
It's our job as assistants, support staff to make sure that the standards are set every day. So the coach, it's one less thing, the head coach has got to think about,
yeah,
right? So how you represent yourself in the classroom, how you are on campus, how you engage with donors or within the community itself, you know, those values are still instilled at all times.
yeah,
Everyone in the program has to be aligned, which helps with the same expectations and values. Um, One other key role I would say is player development, right?
mhm,
I heard you talk about it a little bit, but just to go into this more, I knew about Coach Special Jennings before she obviously got to Jacksonville. Elite player, elite coach, elite, getting players all league, sending them to all different types of levels, having players play pro and all of that. And it's as well as off the court. As much as on the court, yes, this, and that. Like she was really good about building relationships off the court. Since I've been here, we've had multiple all conference players from our first year, second year, third year, freshman of the year, player of the year, third team, all leaguers, right?
yeah,
So I know player development is very critical. And finally, relationships matter, right? When players genuinely know that you care about them as people, that's when the program truly grows, right? The players represent your head coach, right? So, culture drives everything, but talent helps, but culture determines how far the team can go,
yeah,
right? When you hit a wall, right, are you just gonna play flat, or are you
yeah,
gonna go through the wall, go through your staff because you trust the work and you did all the process in the summer? So
yeah. Great stuff, coach. Really good stuff, man. And here again, you're just starting out, man, and you're already kind of getting somewhat the keys to success that you've seen here again from Coach Jennings, who's been wildly successful in her career. And you think about, like you said, the alignment, right? Aligning values, aligning the expectations, that's huge because even in the professional world outside of basketball and anywhere you work, man, if you don't understand the expectations, you're set up for failure. And I
right.
think even more so in a situation like you said, you can have great players, but your culture, how far is it going to take you? Like it gets you to the door or your foot in the door, but how much further are you going to go? It really does matter, and it means a lot. So I appreciate you breaking that down because it's high level to think that way. It really is. Now, how important is it to have a great work ethic and high character from your perspective, Coach?
From my perspective, it
Yeah,
actually is the foundation. I know we're talking about culture, the foundation, but it's actually my foundation, and we talked about it earlier, right? Talent can open doors, but work ethic determines how far someone goes, right? Just because you get an opportunity, right? For me, an example, I didn't say, "Oh, I've arrived," right? I put my head down, got up early, stayed late, to ensure I'm helping the program and whatever it needs. And then obviously, as I moved up as an assistant, you know, I wasn't complacent as well, right? It's just another day on the job, right?
Right.
Um, I could even go back even further when I was in college, right? I thought I was going to be a sports business major, Oregon, University of Oregon, big sports business school. I mean, big program, but I found out quickly early that, business maybe was not my strong suit. So I decided to, go to journalism. I really like the public relations aspect of it.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I wanted to be a part of the PR team, that didn't materialize. I tried, I applied, didn't get it. But that also led me to another opportunity, right? Being in the practice team, maybe I thought I could also be, in the athletic department, so I was a marketing intern working and figuring out all the other aspects of the game. But ultimately, right, when you work with the team, if I really wanted to be a part of the team, right? So, as one door closes, another one may open. And I've taken that approach every single step of the way.
No, it makes a lot of sense what you're saying, and I think a lot of people who get the first no give up, and you can't. I mean, you learned that from your family. They instilled it in you. They didn't give up. They were never going to give up. Like,
Yep.
just in our culture, man, we don't do it. I mean, you have to like knock us out, put us in the hospital to really stop us from doing anything that we truly want to do. We're gonna go
Mhm.
get it, whether you like it or not. And I think that's the mindset you've had, and it's bared a lot of fruit for you. Like I said, to be on the staff that you're on is not something that anybody should take lightly and be like, well, he knew somebody, or no, you earned it, man. And I think that's really really important. Now, with that being said, Coach, how important is mentorship for you?
Oh, man, it's been an incredible, part of my journey, right? I've talked about the Johnson family, I talked about my uncle who was a high school coach. I didn't even mention Coach Stammy or Kyle, who's at Cal Poly, and what they did for me in terms of confidence as a player and being able to put me in certain situations that helped me build confidence. And once you have confidence on the court, sometimes that translates to off the court, right? So it's been very important, right? They share such valuable stories, such valuable information, year after year, and that changes as well, right? They still watch and keep up with me, so sometimes you catch me off guard when, especially like my uncle was like, "You guys should have done this or did this," and I'm like, "Okay, I got you." Like I didn't, being alone from home, sometimes it's hard to keep in touch, but I love the fact that they continue to pour their time into me, right? And obviously, it's important now being here with Coach Special. She's always challenging me, sometimes telling me because I'm such a work ethic heavy. Work doesn't stop, telling me to, take it day by day, right? Enjoy your process. It's okay. The work's always going to be there. But her lessons and teachings have really resonate with me as well. So
That's fantastic. Yeah, because you talked about, here again, you mentioned process a number of times. And I think a lot of people would do well to fall in love with the process instead of the outcomes, right? Because the outcomes are, to be, who knows, right? Flip a coin. You hope that they're well. You hope that they work in your favor, but they're not always going to. And
yeah.
a lot of times, if you don't like the process, you're going to give up, and you're just going
Yep.
to quit. And I think that's the hard part for a lot of us is we uh, we we kind of take it to that place of like, man, had I just not given up, imagine what I could have done, imagine what I could be. So yeah, that's
Hmm.
great stuff, Coach.
Yeah. Did I lose you? Sorry.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I got you back though. We're good.
Okay. I think I posted on Instagram and I'm trying to dig and find for it, but I posted the journey teaches you things about the destination that it never could.
Yeah,
Um, and you started talking about that, so I was like, that's funny you talk about it. Like I just posted something on Instagram highlighting that. So
yeah. No, man, that's to share that insight. Some people may not get it, but they'll get it at some point once they've lost an opportunity from the fact that they didn't fall in love with the process. Because everything that's worth anything has a process. So if you just
yes.
fall in love with the general idea of starting something and following through, man, you're gonna be successful. You could be making cakes or cake pops or whatever, right? You
Yeah.
can tell I'm a little hungry still with dessert, but that's a whole other story. But yeah, the process is super fun, man. I've learned to fall in love with it. And so now, Coach, I want to ask you because you talk about culture and what culture drives, and then we talked about your family and we share the same Hispanic background and culture. So as a Hispanic coach, how do you feel as far as opportunities? Do you feel like there's more opportunities for us, people who look like us now in the game of basketball?
Yes. The game is always evolving, right? There's more opportunities before,
Yeah.
but for me, representation still matters,
Yeah.
right? And I'm gonna touch on it a little bit again, right? Growing up from Woodburn, I didn't see a lot of coaches in my background in college basketball, right? Being in this position now has really taught me so much. That if a kid can see me from my hometown, coaching at this level,
Yeah.
anything is possible.
Yeah.
And like I've really like felt that way. And I hope it really touches people. And I know there's opportunities out there. You just gotta keep striving and stacking days.
Yeah, one of the cool parts is like you talk about if some kid from your hometown can see that. Well, you have more visibility with that news article that you sent me the other day, and I think that's something that can really speak to somebody, right? I mean, some kid even from your high school that'll see and be like, "Man, I want to do that. I didn't realize that was on the menu to do." And I think that's really
Yeah.
important. I always talk to kids and coaches about showing young people the menu, the whole menu, because they think, oh, if I'm not playing anymore, then I guess I'm just going to coach. Well, if I'm not going to coach, then I'm just going to. There's so many things to do. So many things to do in this game, and like you said, you had your experiences, at different stops that showed you how to be a part of a program without having to play or without having a coach as well. So I think
Hmm.
that's super important. Now, I want to ask you, Coach, because the support system, right? Given your background, like you just talked about right now, the opportunities and all that, how important is your support system?
It's very important to me, right? My parents worked incredibly hard to help create opportunities for me, my siblings, long car rides, long talks, encouragement, just pouring into me, right? My aunts, my uncles, even people now, right? Like my girlfriend, I have a dog that we just got. He helps along the way, too. And all my friends, right? It matters because those phone calls of whether I'm in the East Coast now, EST, so back home 3 hours, so it's 4:28. Sometimes in the middle of the week, I'm not calling at 7 o'clock because they're still working. I might stay up till 10, 11, trying to just connect with them, see how they're doing, and trying to just be there presently as best as I can.
That's great. Now, you're laying out a scenario that a lot of college coaches go through is the time differentials, right? Being on different parts of the coast. Some of them, whether on recruiting trips, they got to even be further away from home. Like those things matter, and you do need your support system. Like even like you said, your dog. I mean, like people would be like, his dog, yeah. Like literally, I come home to my dog, and my dog's like always wanting to see me. He never looks at me and goes, "Get out of here." And so
Yeah.
it's really, really important because ultimately, man, like when I started this podcast, it was to shine the light on coaches who are always on the road and have a story, right? And so the more I talk to coaches just like yourself, like man, I'm trying to stay present, trying to be in the moment, and sometimes I can't because with the time differentials and all that different parts of the
Hmm.
country. Super important for anybody who's watching to understand. Like it's a common thing and it's a sacrifice, but hey, man, there's nothing better than here again. It's part of the process. There's nothing better than going through that process. So really, really
Hmm.
cool stuff, man. Now, here again, we talked about your family and how excited they are for you. And I think, like you said, all of Woodburn can be excited for you as well. But I want to ask you a different question now about what you're learning about yourself to this point, because you had those different stops. You were GA, you were a practice player at Oregon. You had all these hopes and all these ambitions. But even through all these processes, man, what have you learned about yourself so far?
Honestly, the biggest thing, and I've talked about it, is to stop stressing and take things one thing at a time.
Yeah.
The work will always be there, and it's okay to take a step out. Like I said, go with the walk with my girlfriend and my dog, and then jump back on it, or cook. Sometimes that's actually a new. I don't know if it's a hobby or a little therapy, but I actually am starting to enjoy it. And it helps me clear my mind. And then, okay, cool. get back to work. Um, that that's one thing I've learned about myself. The second thing would definitely be is to be positive, right? I had actually an athlete ask me this year about, as you can see, like I smile, I kind of like jittery a little bit. Um, and sometimes they're like, why you always like smiling? Why you a little giggly? And I just think a smile per day doesn't hurt anybody. Like
Yeah,
making someone smile can change how they're doing, right? And that can go along with the players, someone on campus, right? You don't know what's going on in their life, right? So that level of impact, that small act of change might help them get through their day, or might
yeah,
help them, hey, like, you know what? Like, man, he's smiling like he's having a good time. Like maybe why not myself? Um, so those are two things. If you want me to keep going, I can keep going, but those are two big things for me.
cool. No, you're saying a lot because it's a generational thing in my mind. Like, I'm 46 years old, and you're what, 20? How old are you, coach?
24.
24. Right?
24.
What it was like to be 24, I don't even remember. But at the end of the day, coach, you're dealing with players that are coming right out of high school or are the same age as you. And what really matters to your generation, for the most part, is just to be made felt like you exist and like you matter and that you're accepted and that you're in a safe space. Like, I understand that. Like, I get that completely. And so what
Mhm.
you're talking about is making people feel like, you know what, there's no judgment here. There's just a place for you to be yourself. And your points are valid, whether they make sense or not. It's valid. Okay. At the end of the day, it'll all come out in the wash. But we really want to validate people's feelings and emotions, right? So that leads me
Yeah.
to the next question, coach, is how important is it to maintain good emotional and physical and even mental health as a coach?
Well, for me, it's extremely important, right? Everything I do actually kind of hits physical, mental, and emotion, if that makes sense,
Yeah, for sure.
right? Because coaching is so demanding, right? You have to show up every day balanced, right, with energy and focus to your players. Very big on, you can't lead others if you can't take care of yourself.
Yeah,
Um, one concept that I have always done, and I've done this since high school, is working out, right? And it helps me regulate myself for the day, helps me get me going, getting the blood pumping, getting a good sweat on, maybe going to the sauna. But it really helps put me in that mindset. And like I talked about earlier, right? My dog, I have here, right? Like, sometimes I'm up late and sometimes, you know, we may just go for a walk in the night, right? After a game or, after a long day. Sometimes taking those walks help me decompress and set myself up
yeah,
to reattack whatever it is. As much as you pour into others, you have to be able to pour into yourself.
for sure.
So, this year specifically, actually have had a few massages. And then like I said, I've because I have a dog, now I spend so much time investing in him, right? So
That's good, man. Like, you're saying things and you kind of laugh about it, but man, there's things that some coaches are just looking for. Like, I've been grinding away for 30 years and I don't know what to get into to kind of sharpen the saw and get away from things. And like you said, get into something else and then attack whatever you were attacking before. Because if you're always on in attack mode, sometimes you attack yourself through thoughts you
mhm,
shouldn't have, thoughts that are kind of destructive, your emotions that go the wrong way. You don't take care of yourself physically because you're always on the road. You're always
mhm,
worrying about others, taking care of others. You're always telling your team,
yeah,
hey, you need to be in shape, you need to do this, but then you're like, whatever with your body, right? And I think that's
mhm,
really good. That's why I asked the question, because it's super important for us as coaches to take care of ourselves, physically, emotionally, and mentally, because those things do matter to our players and for our players. Because if we're not good, they're not going to be good. Like you said, how can we give something that we don't have? We got to fill ourselves up. So that's really good. Now, I want to ask you a big question, Coach. Why do you do what you do?
I do it because I love it. The impact that you can have on every single person's life
Mhm.
matters. Basketball gave me opportunities that I never really imagined growing up,
Yeah,
right? Like I said, a lot of people, played soccer growing up. I did as well. But you know, playing basketball allowed me to travel to around the world, and that allowed me to see different things, make new friends, being able to see at different levels. So I really want to help those our athletes pursue those same opportunities, right? And it doesn't have to be just about basketball. It can be about something else like teaching, or if you want to go to law school. I know we have a medical school student. Um, so being able to fulfill those, and then one thing I'm like I'm a believer in is every day is the first day on the job.
Mhm.
Um, you know, if the if the day is difficult, or you're not feeling it, it's a new opportunity to grow, right? So every day, you have to put yourself in that mindset of how you may get better, but how can I affect each person um in life?
That's fantastic, coach. I mean, here again, we're talking about bigger than basketball, bigger than just what's in front of you at the moment. Like seeing things, seeing the forest for the trees, and you know about that in Oregon. you, you There's a lot of greenery out there, and so yeah, seeing the forest for the trees really matters because sometimes we're so close to the situation that we don't see it for what it really is. And I think, and you can inspire young people and people like yourself. I say young people, well, you're a young person too, but you can inspire even you can inspire somebody like me that's an older cat and be like, hey, yeah, this young guy's, and that's so important because everybody that surrounds you, that's in your sphere of influence, can definitely become somebody you can impact. And so that's why I love coaching for that same purpose, man. Is you
Yeah,
can have so much autonomy and you can put your fingerprints on a lot of different lives, and that's really
yeah,
really important. So my last question, coach, and I'm sure you've heard me ask it, and now it's your turn to answer it.
yeah.
But because you have a long ways to go, like a long, you got at least 30 some years to go, maybe 40, man. Hopefully,
Hopefully, hopefully, hopefully.
I think so. You're already in the right lane. You got sky's the limit, man. So I want to ask you, coach, to this point, and how you've seen things. What would you want to be said of you when your time with the game is over?
Um, Honestly, I just want to say thank you for letting me be on this podcast. Like this is great. I appreciate you. I remember our first conversation, and I do know why you emphasize that question, because I do remember watching this and hearing all the different coaches talk about it. And I love that you made a joke about how young I am. Maybe you got so much time left.
Yeah,
But the biggest thing is being positive on people's lives, right? Like I talked about before, wins, losses. Like yes, that's important. But who you help as a person matters more, because that affects how they go about in their day and moving forward, right? You don't know what they may do and how that may impact. They may impact like 20 other people,
yeah.
right? I just really hope that my journey can inspire others to pursue their dreams through hard work and persistence.
Coach, appreciate you, man. I really do. Like, it's good to see where you're at. You know, a couple years ago when we connected, it was like, hey, man, what's going to happen with this guy? He's got a good head on his shoulders. Yeah, it happened pretty fast in my mind. I didn't really think it did. I think things kind of fast tracked for you, and so that's why I'm saying sky's the limit, man. I mean, there's nothing that you couldn't accomplish throughout the next 40 years of your life in this game. I mean, if you choose to do something else, you choose to. But here again, man, I appreciate you coming on and spending some time and taking the time to be with us, man.
No, thank you again. I appreciate it. I loved our first conversation. I still remember it like the back of my book. And the advice through the years, and being able to see where you're at now and the things that you're doing, how the family is.
Yeah, appreciate that.
It's been great.
Awesome, coach. Here again, thank you so much.